This week, my goal is to learn and master 3 skills. To make sure it's unbiased, I'm going to be picking it out of a hat. On the screen is going to be listed all the possibilities for what can be chosen.
Just so you know I'm not cheating, all of them are in there.
Right here.
And skill number 3. Now that I have the skill selected, it's time to get started. But before we get started, I'm going to be giving you some information on the things I'm going to be trying to accomplish and some background information on the topics that I'm going to be focusing on today. Speedrun.com. It's a home for speedrunners of all different kinds. Now, if you've been living under a rock, you might not know who he is, but here's a YouTuber that speedruns you may be familiar with.
Now, if you don't recognize him by his face, it's
Dream, who turns out was actually banned off of speedrun.com because of one faulty mistake when it came to speedrunning.
It's because he cheated.
Today, I've selected to speedrun The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. I chose this game because growing up it was one of my most favorite games, and I haven't played it in quite a while, so I thought it might be a little bit challenging to try and speedrun something that I'm not too familiar with. When I started doing some research on the game, it looked like the speedrun was going to be actually pretty easy to pull off, but I overlooked one small thing. In the unrestricted section of the any % speedrun for The Wind Waker, there's this really difficult trick that takes years to master. Luckily for me, when I started to try to teach myself how to speedrun this game, I didn't realize, but I was actually trying to speedrun it in the restricted section, which stops you from using this trick. Luckily, however, I didn't realize that I had researched the wrong version of this game. Now you could think, how could you research the wrong version of the game? When I was looking at the record holder's speedrun, I had checked, and on his YouTube channel he had put out a tutorial, so I looked at it, and it wasn't the version that I was looking for. Because I was already in the restricted section, I figured I may as well just learn it, because it looked a little bit easier, and it looked like something I could reach for. Because I wanted to experiment a little bit, I tried both the different categories for speedrun, restricted any % and unrestricted any %, which both gave me some great content. Unluckily for me, I didn't realize that I didn't have a way of recording. So I'm just going to walk you through step by step on my process and how I did it. Although I expected it to be very easy, speedrunning was not a walk in the park. In the unrestricted section, the first trick was the MSS, or the manual super swim. Seconds into the game, you have to jump right off of the main tower and start doing this MSS, which turns out is the hardest trick in the game. This one trick, the MSS, is what makes the game the unrestricted section. It's because it allows you to get to a part of the game that, in normal speedrunning, takes you up to 20 minutes to get to. Speaking of, let's swap back over to that category, because that's the one that I focused on more. You start by going to Grandma's, and then going back to your starting area, and then you go to obtain the sword. Once you go into the forest and come back out, it eventually starts the beginning of the storyline. Once you talk with Tetra, the pirate, you go over to Grandma's house, and you obtain your shield. At that point, you head over to a ship that's located on the side of the island to perform the very first and most difficult trick of the speedrun. Luckily for me, like I said, this trick is not that difficult. Once I got a hold of performing the trick, then I was able to start speedrunning. Almost. Little did I realize, or thought I had realized, that I was doing the wrong subcategory of the speedrun. From that point, I proceeded to spend about 6 hours trying to learn the other speedrun, which is the first version I showed you. After doing even more research, I had finally settled on the fact that I didn't want to do the more difficult speedrun. I kind of enjoyed the speedrun that I had initially tried to learn. Because I enjoyed it more, I thought to myself, I'm just gonna do it. And so, at that point, I decided to switch back over and do the initial speedrun that I had wanted to do. It's at this point when we reach today. I got about 1/3 of the way through the game when I just decided to take a break for the day. And as it turned out, for the rest of the week. Realistically, I could do a whole video covering the Zelda game, but I think it's best if we swap over to maybe juggling or piano.
But before we swap over, I just thought I'd say that I've made it about halfway through the game, and I'm about 10 minutes behind the world record holder.
The most valuable thing I learned from speedrunning this game is that you're supposed to speedrun because you enjoy it. And because I didn't enjoy the first speedrun, I decided to do something that I enjoyed, and I think I'm actually going to pick up on it and actually begin to do it more now.
So, juggle. Sorry for the fairly frequent jumps and times, I'm recording this as I go along. For those of you that are unaware, juggling is a really difficult thing, but here's how I did. I've been going at it for the past 30-40 minutes, and I've made like no progress. I've gotten a little bit better at certain things, but overall, not much progress. I eventually added a third ball, but it was pretty terrible. Right now, I would consider that 2 successes. For the last skill, we have learning to play a song on the piano. Now, I already know how to play the piano a little bit, but this is still going to be quite a challenge. Since I already did Zelda once today, I thought I would do Great Fairy's Fountain from The Legend of Zelda. Let's go.
6.5 hours later.
So, I'm up in my room practicing piano, and unfortunately, I don't think this one is going to be a success. I've been practicing for like 2 or 3 days now, and it's just not coming together. I was really hoping for 3 successes on the first video, but I just don't think that's gonna happen. As much as I really love to play the piano, I think the main reason why I failed this is because of the fact that I really haven't played in a couple of months. Similarly with the first 2 skills, I'm hoping I can come back in a couple of weeks or maybe a couple of months and just attack them and get them done and complete them to the best of my ability. And with that, we have 2 successes and 1 fail. Have a great day and stay safe.